Hey guys, welcome to the secret crib baby stash living in your tank. This is just a quick update. Those of you who like to see into my tanks and see, what's new, what's going on, what's the haps, and don't necessarily need to know a whole background spiel on the species. The only spiel I'm going to give you on this is that you can see these are striped Kribensis, or Kribensis pulcher is the dominant trait in them. However, they're hybrids. So we have Kribensis lacunga from the upper falls, which is cut off from the lower falls. So yes, it matters if it's upper or lower falls. The upper falls have more yellow in them. And so, since these are a hybrid, and I know a lot of people don't like hybrids, so if you have a problem with hybrids, it's not like I'm going to go back to Africa and let them go or sell them as something that they're not. These guys are just really cool in that these babies, I say babies, but now they're having their own children, their own spawn have just appeared in the last few days. They've got the kind of Nigerian red appearance that some of these Kribensis have. And instead of just being Kribensis pulchers, they have the Kribensis tineatus, which, to make things more confusing, are no longer called Kribensis tineatus. Now they're called striped Kribensis or African dwarf Kribensis, and then they give you the name of the place that the species was found. So you'd call it a Kribensis lacunga, or lacunga striped Kribensis, I suppose. But what I want to show you is that in this tank, there's probably somewhere between 8 and 11, I would say now, fish that I couldn't ever catch. They were just too quick, and I didn't want to dismantle the scape. They were too smart to get in the bottle. And the other 50 or so fish that I've gotten out from the last two spawns, including their parents, the male of which was an old crib that I inherited that was probably 5 inches, like at the very max of a Kribensis pulcher size. He's downstairs without anybody to mate with. He's done for a while. And they tend to have a little less color, even though their name in Latin, pulcher, would insinuate that they are beautiful. And then the pelvica chromis, the first part of their Latin name, refers to their hips. Now, fish don't really have hips, right? Fish hips? No, not so much. But it's talking about the wide pot belly that this fish has. You can see here that we get quite a selection when you hybridize these fish. Some of them don't even have stripes, really. Like this guy here has one stripe, whereas some of the other ones have 2 stripes. And then over here, you'll see even some of there's 1 or 2 that have 3 stripes. Some have a stripe that goes into their fin. So it's really interesting to me. Like this gal up here, she's got stripes all over her head, the one who's got the brand new fry. And those fry are already, even though they're still pretty much larval, they're still covered in stripes, which is really interesting. They're that young and they have stripes already. A lot of my Kribensis look gray or molted, mottled, I should say. But these ones have like the Nigerian red. They've got the leopard spots in the top of their fin, in their caudal fin, or tail fin, as most people would call it. And basically, I've just provided them a ton of hiding spots, a ton of areas where we break up the line of sight, lots of different levels. Sorry about the reflection there. Lots of different levels, lots of other fish to distract them. A lot of tetras and ember tetras, kitty tetras, reed tetras, so tetras that like to group. And then we've got all the endlers hanging out up here that move all over the tank, as well as we've got one angelfish, lone angelfish, Sergio, who is still here, even though he decided to kill his babies and his wife or mate. So now he's all alone, Mr. 8-inch angelfish, and I'm not really seeing him pose much of any threat to these babies. He doesn't seem to do well getting through the tangle of Valsinaria and Vesuvius that I've planted here, corkscrew val, and then also there's some stargrass, there's a few other things. But what's interesting is that right now, these plecos, the L144s or the lemon plecos, are trying to decide whether they're going to take over these caves, but the Pelvicochromis hybrids have also kind of taken over the caves, and so there is frequently a female Pelvicochromis hanging out in here. And let's just call him Kribs. I'm almost done with this video. We'll just do a short one right now. But I wanted to show you the variety of hybridization, and it's not always a bad thing, especially when it's not like they're endangered. It's not like they're from one lake and you can only find them, and you need to preserve those traits. These are a very common fish found throughout all over West Africa. And they're just a unique fish, a great fish if you're beginning to take care of cichlids. Very similar to blue rams or Apistogramma, which those would be South American cichlids. But these are just kind of fairly peaceful other than when they have their babies. And I've actually raised them with shrimp in the tank, with little snails in the tank and things like that. And once they have their babies, it is very common for them to eat the little snails. That's a favorite snack of theirs. But it's not much worse than, say, a pleco or some sort of, for instance, Siamese algae eater, flying fox. Definitely nowhere is near as harsh as a angelfish or even like cherry barbs or some of the other fish that people commonly have in a tank like this. And so I highly recommend them. They're just really a beautiful fish. They turn a lot of different colors. When they're spawning, they turn colors. And when they're in a group like this, if there's one clear dominant male, they actually seem to do colony breeding, which is interesting because the literature has tended to say that these are a fish that breeds for life or mates for life and pairs off for life in tanks. And definitely I've had some that have paired off and been so depressed when they lose their mate that they are no longer living within, a week or something. However, with this, I see these two as a pair, and then I see their another female coming in, and they're allowing her near the children, near the fry. So that's kind of cool. I don't know if that's what happens. Maybe when it's just this densely crowded, or they either eat each other or they find a way to get along. But kind of interesting, and the colors are really interesting. They're definitely trying to show off a unique set of colors for every mate. And lastly, the thing I wanted to mention about Kribs is that nobody gives them much credit for being awesome at eating algae and eating all the little dead leaves and random things that accumulate in your fish tank over time, and they do a stellar job of it. Especially, you see a leaf like this that's damaged or maybe unhealthy and starting to rot, they'll nibble on that and get rid of the rot. And they don't necessarily, they're omnivores, they don't really do it to the extent that it damages everything and you have a major problem with it. But it's just a really kind of cool thing that you'll see if you don't feed them food all the time. Like if you're always feeding them bloodworms or live baby brine shrimp, then yeah, you're not going to see that behavior as much. But, if you feed them somewhat sparingly, not abusively, but, feed them 5 times a week, when they're bored or if they get hungry, they will eat all of that, and their babies will really eat any little thing that is hanging out around the bottom or on dead leaves, on older leaves. And that's kind of fun. Here you can see one of the Kribs that isn't colored up at all, really. and has no markings. It looks like a trout or something. So that's just a little bit about the Kribensis that I thought I would throw out there, that maybe people don't always think about. And I think it's going to be exciting in this tank because we've got the one pair they've got their babies right here. Look at those little babies. They're adorable, doing well. Parents are doing a great job, especially for first-time parents, protecting them. And I'm not doing many water changes or anything in this tank. I'm kind of just letting it be, topping it off, and it's just so heavily planted that slow and steady wins the race on this, it appears. And with these hybrid species, I'm just getting colors I've never seen before, patterns I've never seen before, and it's a whole bunch of fun. I highly recommend it. Just be sure to let people know if you sell any of the babies that, you know, these are hybrids. They're not a specific locale associated. And you can see those babies are eating biofilm off the parents. They're eating fungi and other funk off and the aufwuchs off of plants, and they're just generally cleaning up. So you don't really need to feed them a ton if you've got a well-established tank. I do throw in some fry food, and that's kind of it. But this was kind of a little follow-up video to the care video, and I forgot to mention that the temperature that they like is somewhere under 80 degrees and over 74. They're warm water fish, but they're very different than the lake cichlids of Africa, the rift lakes, because these guys, they don't live in those crazy high TDS waters. They live in basically rainforest or subtropical forests or densely vegetated portions of rivers, and they live under the canopy of the jungle in the debris that's on the floor. So you don't want a spotless tank. You want places to hide and things for the babies to fiddle with. And the really fun thing is when they mate, they do a mating dance that you can see, and I have done videos on. But they also do some funky behavior preparing nests sometimes, and you'll see them actually arranging stones or maybe a particular stick, or, you know, it's just who knows what. It's a random thing, which cribs are going to do it and how much they're going to do it. And by the way, this male back here is turned like a really beautiful pastel color with the babies, which is unusual. Usually they pick a vivid color. And so he's like, almost looks like an emperor tetra or something like that. But we've just got natural light coming in right now from the door and really lighting up these fish in a special way. They're a special fish, like I said. They arrange their own nests in special ways. They do dances, and it's just really endearing to watch them take care of their young like this. They'll sometimes put them in their mouth if they're really scared. They'll dig holes, and so it's good to have a substrate like sand or pea gravel for them to be able to fit in their mouth and manipulate. But they're just a super quirky, fun little fish. Looks lovely. They're resilient in the type of water they can be in, and they are hardy as all get out. I've had them survive some there's Papa, by the way. I've had them survive some outbreaks in the tank of Columnaris and ick. No problem. They were unscathed. So they're just a great fish. Just give them a good habitat, and they'll give you a good show. So I think these are probably my favorite and most active fish as far as activities go, with panda loaches probably being my second favorite, just because every little, whether it's a lacunja upper falls or lower falls, they may have a totally different color scheme, and maybe they turn a pastel color, and when the water is high in the TDS, there's more males that get born, usually when the pH is high, and when the acidity is high or the pH is low, you get more females born. And so there's just all sorts of little quirks like that you end up learning, and why they have different colors, how they when they pair off and mate, often for life, but not necessarily, you'll just find that sometimes the male matches the female in their markings on the body or on the face all of a sudden, and definitely for spawning they'll both light up like a canvas. And you can start these, you could if you wanted to, really in a 10 gallon. I don't advise that. I would say a 20 long is just about perfect for 2 to 4 of these guys. And just find a pair that are seeming to hang out together doing dances, or go into a shop and find the brightest one, the brightest colored males and females. I went over how to tell them apart and their behavior and stuff in past videos. I've got quite a bit of information on these guys available to you if you're interested. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoy your day and your week as much as I'm enjoying this. Thank you always for watching. If you want to join in, share photos of your cribs, your hybrid cichlids and so forth, please check out the Facebook group. And if you want to support the channel, things like me getting more of these hard to find substrains and things like that of cribs, you know, check out my Patreon if you feel like I've done a good job and you'd like to see more. That's definitely, even like $1 a month is a great way to support this channel and what I'm trying to do here. All right, guys, take care of your tanks, the people around you, and it'll all come back. Those people will take care of you, your critters will be healthy, and you'll be happy. And you know, just have a ball with life, and never stop looking for the wonder that is everywhere, all around us. It really is, in all fish, and especially in Kribensis, Pulcher, or Tiniatus. Just love these little dwarf cribs. They're just awesome. All right, guys, I'll talk to you later. Swim on. Bye-bye.